Welcome back, everybody, to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. My name is Sam Thrash. I'm your show host over here at Fall Obsession. Thanks for tuning in to another Monday morning episode. This podcast was a really awesome one for me to get to be a part of. My guest is Curt Geier. He is the host of the Working Class Bowhunter Podcast. You guys may have heard of them. They only have like 600-something episodes online. Pretty awesome show. Bunch of blue collar guys over there that have built a brand and a show that is about as good as they come for everyday guys like you and me. So I've been listening to their show since before we had our own podcast, and it's definitely been an awesome thing to follow along with their journey as we enter into our journey the past few years on our own show. So to get to sit down with their host and talk to him just about hunting in general and a little bit about, their show and kind of coming up through that and everything was really cool for me. Really enjoyed this time with Curt, and I hope you guys enjoy the conversation as well. I will preface it, as I've done with a few episodes before, just so that everybody's aware it's unfiltered. As far as, just our conversation and everything. So please keep that in mind when there's, younger folks listening to it. So, but before we get to my conversation with Curt, I'm going to give our partners a little shout out here. Hoot Camo is a podcast partner. We started working with the guys at Hoot this past year and have been unbelievably pleased with the gear, the quality of both the jackets, the pants, everything we've been wearing, as well as the pattern itself and the functionality. It's been truly awesome to get to wear Hoot Camo this last year. I've worn it in Texas. I've worn it in Colorado. From a tree stand, in the plains and CRP fields, in the snow, all the above. So it's just been a complete multi-purpose functional pattern that has performed very well for us. So if you're interested in learning more about Hoot Camo, go to hootcamo.com. If you want to place an order, whether it's for their everyday wear that you can wear around town, or if you're wanting to order some gear, use the code FallObsession15 at checkout, and that will save you guys some money. Hoot Camo, go check them out. Ridge Rock Hunt Company is another podcast partner. Derek and Lacey over there in Mississippi, they book hunts with vetted outfitters across the country. Derek has a very large network of vetted and trusted outfitters. He wouldn't have them in his circle if he wouldn't hunt with them himself. So if you're looking to book that next hunt, that next experience, maybe a once-in-a-lifetime hunt you've been saving up for, whatever the case might be, give Derek a call. He'll work with you on all the details and get you set up with something that's going to work right for you. Ridge Rock Hunt Company, go check him out. Finally, the Outdoor Call radio app is a podcast partner. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV, he created an app for hunters and outdoorsmen that you can download on any device where you can stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. You will catch Fall Obsession podcast playing on that loop on Mondays, the same day as our new publications, as well as tons of other hunting shows and podcasts that we all know and love. So go download the Outdoor Call radio app today. It is free. You can start playing it immediately. And follow Outdoors Day on social media. He does a couple of live radio shows at local Midwest stations a couple times a week. And he shares those live broadcasts on his Facebook Live in the event you are not local to those stations. So the Outdoor Call radio app and Outdoors Dan, go check him out. Finally, I want to thank you guys once again for listening to another podcast. Be sure that you are supporting Fall Obsession and following along with our journey. You can go to fallobsession.com. That's the website. All of our hunting and outdoor content streams through there, whether it's our podcast, our hunting shows, or educational articles, all of that good stuff. Be sure you're following us on all the social media platforms, Fall Obsession. And go listen to and check out our shows and our podcasts on Carbon TV. We have Texas Dirt, Midwest Mindset, Fall Obsession Podcast. All those shows are streaming on demand on Carbon TV, and you guys can check them all out there from that free hunting and outdoor streaming platform. So, and if you guys, by any chance, are interested in maybe promoting your own outdoor brand on our podcast, you can reach me at fallobsession.com/podcast. There's a form on there you guys can fill out, and we can talk numbers and what that might look like if that's something you're interested in. All right, and with that, we are heading over to our episode with Curt from Working Class Bowhunter. You guys are listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down.
Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession Podcast. I am Sam, your show host. Thanks for tuning in. Our guest this week is no stranger to a podcast or a microphone. Curt Geier from Working Class Bowhunter is with me this week. Welcome to our show, Curt. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate doing other podcasts because I don't have to work as hard. But no, man, thanks for the invite, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to have you on the show. I've been listening to Working Class Bowhunter ever since before we had a podcast, and you guys have obviously been around the block a few times in the podcast world. And even if nobody listens to your show, one look at Spotify or something like that, and you see over 600 episodes online, it's obvious that y'all have been grinding at it for a long time. But I want to kind of break the ice and start off and just ask you where it all began, because as I just said, 600 episodes, 600 plus, that is, it's quite an accomplishment. And you guys are in my opinion, about as down to earth as they come. And, you know, tuning in, it just feels like you're there with y'all, you're hanging out, you're in deer camp. Where did it start for you guys with Working Class?
Well, I appreciate you listening and saying all that. 2015, early 2015, man, we just, I was always a big fan of like outdoor content and like videos and stuff like that. And then I actually was like, well, this is before I even thought about doing WCB. I was like a call-in guest for like, I don't know, it had to have been one of the first hunting podcasts. Like I called in for like a 15 segment to like represent Illinois and like what was going on for like a rut report or something. This was early on. And then, I did some video stuff, and I'm like, you know, I really like podcasts. Like I always listen to Rogan before it was like what Rogan is now.
Yeah.
When he still did it in his house. And I'm like, man, it'd be fun to do like a hunting version of this. And I got online to look for one, to like try to listen to one. And there's a couple, but nothing that I thought related to me or something I really wanted to listen to. So kind of rolled into eventually starting one, and then having Steve and Eric join, and then eventually Doug joined the crew. And it just evolved after doing them every week, and you know, for not just over 9 years now.
Yeah.
Actually coming up on 9 years this week, actually.
No kidding.
And so it's just one of those things I started because I thought it'd be fun. Then it was fun and awkward, and then we just continued to do it. And we're fortunate enough to have like some good things happen, and it is what it is today. So that's the
awesome.
Condensed version of it all.
Yeah.
So
Did you ever think it would be what it's turned into?
Oh, definitely not. No way. I mean, we got excited getting a few, like, one thing I did learn, a misconception, like a big name guest doesn't make your show. But in the beginning, we thought that. So like, I remember being excited when like T-Bone and Melissa Bachman and Taylor Drury and some of those bigger mainstream names were like, yeah, we'll do the podcast, which, you know, doesn't really mean anything in the long run. It's like how you do with those episodes is like what matters. But I never thought it would be like what it is now. By any stretch, really.
Yeah.
I think after maybe 4 years of doing it consistently, I was like, oh man, there's a glimmer of some hope here that, you know, we can make some money and maybe make a living at it and do what we want to do. But yeah, definitely not in the beginning. No way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to hear you say that, because, you know, we're grinding away at it, you know, same way, trying to build something here. But, you know, you have some guests come on the show that, larger, I'll just put it as larger names in the industry, I guess, you know, from time to time. And it's exciting to podcast with those folks. But the episodes that I have enjoyed the most on our show is probably the ones where it's just us, you know, and no topic, no nothing, you know, no plan, as you mentioned earlier. We're just, we just hit record and see what happens. And those are the ones that oftentimes are the best for us, and the ones I enjoy the most as a host, I guess I should say. So
for sure. And you know, when your show grows, if you have a lot more interaction with your listener base just off you BSing with the boys without like a big name attached to that particular episode, that's when you know, like, things are doing good. Like people are familiar with how you guys operate and the banter and the hunting camp type vibe that you can put out,
Yeah.
in the long run, I think that's what matters because, I would be fine and I love interviewing people, and I don't really like the word interview because we're more just conversating with them. But
Right.
if it was up to me, I mean, we could just do BS episodes with our home WCB crew, and I still think we could. I think we could maintain an audience. Now, maybe we wouldn't, but it's fun to cut it up with new people each week,
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that because like listening to y'all's show, um, it y'all definitely like the it's in the name, Working Class Bowhunter, and I know that was probably y'all's intention at the beginning, but um, it's a blue collar show for blue collar guys is the feel, and
Yeah.
and that's what every blue collar hunting camp is. That's what it's meant to be. And you say that, and I think that y'all legitimately could do that. I think and have just the same amount of following that you have now. It's awesome it's an awesome thing that y'all have created, and I think you've inspired other shows in the industry for sure. So,
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, it's cool to hear that. It's hard to believe. Kind of going back, it's like I never thought it'd be what it is. But at the time, too, we didn't have a blueprint.
yeah,
There wasn't like somebody that had already podcasts just weren't what they are now almost 10 years ago, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it wasn't like no one was really doing it except for like Rogan, you know what I mean? There was nobody in the hunting space, maybe at some level that I wasn't aware of, but in my realm, there wasn't. So there was no like, oh man, if we do what they do, we can kind of like mimic this path of success and then it'll all work out. And then there is money to be made and we could maybe do it for a living one day, and not that's what it's about. But when you put this much time and effort and love into something, it's really cool if you can get some kickback or maybe do it as a job. So you're not miserable every day. But
yeah,
we're fortunate enough to really just guess a lot on how to like navigate it as a business.
yeah.
And just had fun with our content. We're fortunate that it's worked out the way it has.
That's awesome.
And still, we still have things up our sleeve that we're working on and looking to evolve into and all that. So we're just having fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So before Working Class Bowhunter Podcast, what was your background as just a hunter?
I was a kid who just was obsessed with bow hunting, man. Really, bow hunting whitetails. I filmed some stuff here and there, but really, since I started bow hunting, I've been a diehard bow hunter like the whole time. So
Yeah,
naturally, I just was interested in it, and doing something more related. But yeah, just a kid who loved bow hunting. That's it. I was a BMX kid and a bow hunter. That's how I grew up.
awesome. So
Yeah.
how has, like, obviously, even with the blue collar, the more down to earth roots, as you mentioned, you do get to meet some pretty cool people in the hunting industry, especially on a journey 9 years now for y'all. How has your approach or your mentality around deer hunting itself changed over the past several years y'all been doing this?
From meeting like big name people, you mean, or just in general?
Not just in general. I know, if you podcast or you get to know people who are more management minded, with how they hunt or that kind of stuff. Speaking for myself, it's changed my thought process on some things over the years. And so I guess that's my question is if anything, just over the past decade, how stuff has changed for you, whether it be by the podcast or just you becoming a more educated, comfortable hunter.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It kind of worked out because I was 24 when we started the podcast. I'm 33 now. So I was younger, younger in my bow hunting, obviously new to podcasting at the time. So I was on like a path of evolution of being a better hunter. If I just didn't do the podcast, I just continued hunting. I mean, naturally, you're going to get better the more you do something. Definitely doing the podcast and getting to have long form conversations with some of the best deer hunters in the world, in the country. That definitely has influenced me to like consider different things and then apply it and then actually learn it once applying it.
Yeah.
I think I'm more efficient when it comes to killing mature deer than I ever have been, or maybe would have been without the podcast. It definitely accelerated the learning curve. You know, I mean, I do feel like when I started the podcast, I could go kill a deer, or I will say any deer, at 24. Now I feel like I have a better opportunity of killing the deer
Yeah.
than I ever would have before. You know.
Yeah. So what in your mind now? What is the deer? Define that for me.
Yeah, the deer to me is any deer that fits the check. It checks the boxes for me for any particular season. So the deer might not be the same deer from year to year, or state to state, or property to property. I'll give an example. My most recent the deer was a buck I named Floppy, a mature deer that I thought had big antlers, and I thought he was cool enough and would be fun enough to hunt. So he became my number one the deer, and yeah, we killed him, and so it was awesome. So, but you know, next year I'm looking at a deer that I call him turn down. You know, he could have been the deer this year, but I think this year he's going to definitely be a real big buck. Just a deer whose beams turned down at the end, named him turn down. I think he'll be 5 or 6 this year, and so we'll accumulate a game plan and try and get him killed next season. So
That's awesome, man. So I personally have a general understanding of kind of your journey by listening to your show and other shows that you've been on. You know, with as far as like the land that you hunt, you know, and kind of where you're at with all that. But at least if you would humor me with our show for just a second and give our listeners an idea on kind of what your situation is with, you know, the land that you have access to hunt, and how all that kind of shakes out for you these days.
yeah, I have a couple permission pieces, and I own a small piece. I'm in Illinois. Permission pieces are all by doing work to gain permission for the farmer or the landowner, whatever they need. That's how I've always gained permission, is basically, you know, one of them I just call myself the farm manager of. I just take care of it so they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And it just makes the money through some, you know, state programs on the property.
Yeah.
I think the sweet spot is having, you know, in your home state, wherever you live, depending on what you want to do. If you just want to kill a deer, you really only need one spot. But for me, I'm trying to level up for whatever the deer is. And having 3 spots to have permission on to hunt, I think is like the sweet spot for me, because there might be a deer over here that's super interesting, and just some younger deer that I don't want to really put a whole ton of effort in, or just want to see what they can get to.
Yeah.
So I might just focus the season on a different property and not touch the other 2, or whatever works, or I might do a mix of it all. But yeah, permission ground, I own a little piece, and I just do what I can with them. And some seasons you don't have a deer deemed the deer, but you just figure it out.
Yeah. It's always interesting because I've podcasted with quite a few people, you know, from the Midwest, and some landowners, some hunt permission pieces like you. And it's always the permission concept that is more prominent in the Midwest is always interesting to me, because I'm from Texas. I hunt down here in Texas, and we lease ground, a decent sized chunk of it, and manage it ourselves. But just the idea of permission or exchanging labor for hunting access and stuff like that down here is so foreign. Like it's just it's so saturated down here. I'm podcasting later with a guy who just gave up on trying to get private ground in Texas and just went full bore into the public land side of everything. It's just crazy how different parts of the country are so different. And y'all have better deer than we do. And you know, we're the ones down here that are saturated with it, and you either have to know somebody, or you got to fork over big money to hunt private ground down here.
Well, I will say though too, Illinois is cutthroat. Illinois, Indiana. Oh, I don't know too much about Ohio, but I know like Wisconsin, a lot of the states that have over-the-counter buck tags get cutthroat. Illinois is crazy. Like, I'm fortunate enough that I have permission pieces. Now, that being said, one of the pieces I do a lot of work, and I spend a lot of money every year out of my pocket to keep access. And so, but I'm fortunate enough the landowner knows that.
Right.
And that's our deal. Like, okay, you spend the money on having all this taken care of, and I don't have to spend that money, and you'll just get to hunt. And I don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Any other piece in Illinois? Like, we've been looking for a lease for WCB to have in Illinois for 4 years. A little lease that we can have out of town buddies or partners or guests come in for a week and hunt for a few days
Yeah.
and get the Midwest hunt experience if they're from Utah or wherever they're from. And I cannot find one. It's impossible. It's cutthroat. You have guys trying to screw other guys out of permission pieces by stirring up drama with families, and this guy did this or he did this. It's a constant annoying battle in Illinois. In some areas are worse than others. There's detectives out there constantly wanting to know where so-and-so killed that big deer, or I saw Curt's truck parked over here, even on private ground.
Wow.
So I'm slick. I've figured out a lot of ways to throw people off. I'll have people listen to WCB and be like, oh yeah, I heard you did a food plot over there on that over property. Is that property over there? But I know how to navigate it. You know, like back when I had a lease, if you go through the library of WCB podcasts, my dad and I had a lease for a long time. One episode, it might be an 80-acre piece that's 30 minutes from my house. 10 episodes later, bring it up. It's a 30-acre piece that's 3 hours from the house and a different county. So it's annoying, but that's what you do. I don't know.
That was a question I was going to ask you, was just if stuff like that, if having the public eye or the public ear of the podcast has impacted hunting like that, because I can only imagine that it has, especially when we've been doing it that long.
It has, but what I found out, like, more in the last year than ever, like, all the things you hear about yourself, and it's all local. It's never anywhere else. Like, the locals are the fastest to hate you.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because you're doing stuff they wish they could or whatever. I don't know what it is, but it's funny when you hear things about your crew that you're like, no, that never happened.
Yeah.
I don't even know this guy that's involved in the story. You know what I mean? That type of thing. But
yeah,
you got to just laugh at it.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me about your piece, because you mentioned briefly that you own a piece. How long have you owned it, and what does that what does that look like for you, as far as, you know, the work that you're trying to put into it, and what it is or what you want it to become, whatever the case might be.
Yeah, it's just a little piece. It's a little 41-acre piece. It's flat. It's in a CRP program. It's good. It can be good hunting. It's not good hunting year round, but I'm doing some work to it. Some food plot work. I'm going to be doing a little bit of, I'm going to taper in on habitat work with trees and stuff like that. But just a little humble piece, man, that I was fortunate enough to kill a couple deer on there. I've killed a turkey on it. I've only had it. This coming year, 24 will be my third fall on it, my third hunting season on it. So, yeah, man, it's been awesome. It's been good. I've been fortunate enough to do it. You know, the CRP makes money on the farm. That's the main reason why I'm able to afford it, in full transparency, you know. Yeah. And I didn't know a lot of that till I started looking into getting ground. You know, my Austin Chandler, who's on our crew, is a farmer, grew up a farmer. He grew up in the land game in Illinois. You know, he's sold some farms, flipped some farms, bought farms that weren't good, made them good, killed some deer on them, and then sold it to just kind of flipping a house in a way.
Yeah.
And he's the guy's like, man, because I'm like, oh, I'll never be able to buy a farm. I was like, well, what are you working with? And he's like, dude, you can find a farm. You just got to find the right farm. Find one that makes money, and you can get into one.
Yeah.
And it was like 6 months later, I was into a farm. It was crazy.
Wow.
But I got lucky. You know, I found the unicorn farm that fits me, and I was able to afford it. But it's cool, man. It's a lot of learning. It's weird when you say you own a farm. People are like, wow, you're rich. I'm like, no, I'm not rich at all. The farm makes money, and I'm able to make up the rest. So
yeah,
that's why I don't have a lease anymore. I budgeted, you know, the farm makes this amount in this program. Okay. I always budgeted X amount a year for a lease in Illinois. Well, when I couldn't find a lease, I'm like, well, heck, if the farm makes that much, I got to make up this much. That fits my lease budget every year.
Yeah.
And then boom, that's how I was able to do it.
Yeah, it's encouraging to hear, for sure, because there's plenty, and myself included, over the years, you know, there's plenty of people that, you know, they you look at your money, you look at your budget, whatever it might be, you don't feel like it's realistic, you don't feel like you can do it, and it's more about one, managing your finances, but two, just the opportunity and the drive to get it done. It's
Right.
it's more. And granted, I know different parts of the country are probably different for various folks, but it's doable for more people than some might think. I feel like that's what I'm getting
For sure.
at. But
Yeah, it is. It is. With crop and programs and stuff like that, you can get into.
yeah,
I'm not an expert on it. I just know what mine does.
yeah,
So.
exactly. Well, I don't know if it would work as well down in Texas because we just have mesquite trees and grasses that nobody wants, dirt, heat. You
It'd
name
probably
it.
be harder. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be harder there. Yeah. We got good ground in Illinois. We got good soil.
Yeah, it's a little different in the Midwest for sure, in a good way. But
Yeah.
So what did this last season look like for you? How was it?
It was good, man. All of us on our crew, Doug, Eric, and I all had our best bow season ever, killing our biggest deer. It was good, man. It was a grind. I was fortunate enough I killed a good mature 10, like October 25th ish in that time frame. The first big cold front here in Illinois, and was able to capitalize in the morning. Rattled him in. I shot him twice actually, which is crazy. Double lunged him, and he walked up. I'm looking at him. I'm like, why aren't you falling over? I can see the cut right through you. And just double down, shot him again, and watched him pile up. And then almost exactly a month later, I hunted that buck I called Floppy, and I'm a big mobile hunter. I like to move around and get in front of him, and I was able to kind of figure out what he was doing and got in front of him and killed him. I think that was on November 25th, so about a month later.
Yeah.
Both morning kills, and Floppy's just big white frame buck with a lot of points, and worked out good.
That's awesome.
So tagged out and killed a coos deer in Mexico, killed a couple turkeys, killed a bear. That was my whole 23.
That's awesome, man. That's a good year.
Yeah, it was awesome.
You mentioned you like being a mobile hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that and what that's like hunting whitetail, because that's your normal average run-of-the-mill whitetail hunter is normally not a mobile hunter. What's a mobile hunter to you?
I just like to move around, man. See different big. I mean, the reason why I got into it early on is you're just looking at different scenery, and it's you feel more. I feel more productive moving and trying to get into a new spot on something, but yeah, I just stay light, man. I'm not afraid to move around. I'm not afraid to guess and check a spot either. And I talk about that a lot. There's a lot of guys that their ego won't let them say, like, I don't know, I just tried it.
Yeah.
Like everybody now has to just like know everything. And you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I knew that buck was going to be there. Well, I don't know. Always looks like a good spot. And I went in there what I thought was a good wind, and he surprised me. I surprised him, and he died. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with saying it that way, and that's like the most fun for mobile hunting. It's like, if you're unfamiliar, it doesn't hurt to go in. You might learn something to make your next move, and then you kill the deer, So I like the guess and check aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think getting in front of what you think deer are going to do is more productive than being lazy and waiting and sitting on your hands and be like, man, he's over there. And then watch him do it the next 4 mornings in the row. And then he's changed it up, and then you just miss your opportunity.
Yeah.
If I see a deer do something twice, I'm moving. And sometimes not even twice. Sometimes once. I'm like, maybe he'll do it again. I'm in there,
Yeah.
So no matter how annoying it is to do at times, it's annoying. I'll admit that too. A lot of guys won't admit that. Mobile hunting sucks sometimes.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to do it.
Yeah. It's interesting for sure, because I'd say the last 2 years probably, like learning, because we've had our piece down here in Texas. It's 807 acres that we've been managing down here, and they run cattle on it. We've been grinding away at it for 3 years now. I've been trying to hunt smarter, is what I call it, I guess, and trying not to just just hunt because I want to hunt, or hunt in a stand just because that's where my stand is. Try to balance everything out, hunt smarter, and think of things like that. But it's so interesting
Yeah.
because different parts of the country do things different ways. I went up to Colorado this last year on a mule deer archery hunt in eastern flatland Colorado, and my buddy that was in camp with me, he had a whitetail tag. So after I tagged out with my muley, we were hunting whitetail in country that I didn't even know whitetail really existed in. And then
Yeah.
at that point, it all changed because I'm coming from Texas, where it's like, okay, let's, we hunt here, we hunt the wind, we do this, we put tree stands, ground blinds, all this other stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, we got to move. And like, we're hauling butt down, dirt farm roads and county trucks. And at times it felt like we were literally chasing these deer. And I'm just, it did not feel like deer hunting to me. And it's just,
See, that's cool though.
it's so interesting. Just, you go to different places and you're hunting the same animals, but you're hunting them a totally different way. And
Yeah.
I hear folks like yourself mention, mobile hunting or whatever it might be. And I'm always curious what that kind of stuff looks like, because it's just so interesting to learn from different people and understand how different people hunt in different parts of the country, some the same part of the country. So
Yeah. I mean, the mobile hunting game, how I described, it's probably how I kill 80% of my deer, but bucks anyway. I like it, man. To me, it keeps it exciting. I mean, like I said, it can suck when you don't feel like it,
yeah,
but it pays off big. If you do it a handful of times and you get the payoff from it, then you're like, okay, this sucks, but it's worth the effort.
yeah, absolutely.
So,
Where was your bear hunt at this last year?
this year, I was in Manitoba.
Okay.
And then Doug and Eric were in Wyoming. We typically do a spring bear hunt every year, and killed my first like jet black colored bear. I'd killed a color phase bear before in Wyoming with my bow, but yeah, got a jet black one, and it was fun.
Yeah.
Kind of easy is not the term. More relaxed hunt.
Yeah.
Being a baited hunt, you're like, well, if I'm going to see one, it's going to be right here.
Yeah.
So
it's
fun.
If you came down to Texas, there'd be a lot of relaxed hunts.
Dude, I went to Texas a little over a month ago for my first time.
Yeah.
And hunting. So I was in Southeast Texas.
Yeah.
And I shot 5 does in an afternoon, and I shot, I don't know how many, 2 pigs with a bow, 1 big boar that I'm actually having shoulder mounted because
Nice.
they're cool. And then I don't know how many with a thermal.
Yeah.
And we just slaughtered everything in like a 24-hour period. It was
Holy
awesome.
cow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Texas just from that experience. So.
Yeah. Oh, if you get on a place like that and that's what it has to offer, that's always a good time. We did a hunt a few years ago for our staff it was just like a management hunt, like doe and management bucks. And my dad went to town on it. I took him out there with me. And like I'm rolling up in an ATV to go pick him up after a morning hunt or something, and there's deer laying just dead in the road as you're driving in, and he's walking around. He's like, "Yeah, I got that one over there." Just he tore it up. He went to town on those does, and it's always fun to see somebody's excitement when that's your experience, when you have success like that. It's again a different kind of hunting, and it's fun. So,
dude, I loved it, man. I went with Big Time's one of our partners, Joe Humphreys, brought me down. He's like, I'm telling you, when you get down to this ranch, you're gonna freak. It's awesome. And I'm like, well, okay. And I get down there and I'm like, all right, this place is incredible. We were with the Legends of the Fall crew.
Okay.
Mike and Bonnie McFerrin, and damn, we had some fun. It was the best. I cannot wait to go back if I get invited. But I told them, I was like, because they have a quota for does they have to shoot, and I'm like, I'll be your mop. I'll just mop does up. You just call me.
Yeah.
I'll come down and just shoot does. So
yeah, that's awesome.
so fun.
For
yeah,
sure.
that's my Texas experience. I loved everything about it.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good time for sure. What are some of the hunts that throughout this journey of, not just your podcast, but then growing as a hunter parallel to it, what are some of the experiences that you've gotten to do over the years that you might have not thought you would have had the opportunity to?
Oh man, number one, going to Africa. I never thought that'd be on the radar.
Yeah.
last summer to Africa. We're going again this summer, which I got to book flights, which is stressful. But going to Africa, never thought I'd do that. I never thought I'd kill a mountain lion with my bow. I never thought I'd do that. Just some of these other, like getting invited to go places around the country, I never thought would be like a thing that would happen to me. Like just that in general, just getting the opportunities in general to go to these different places is like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Africa would be number one because it just seems so extreme for like a kid from the Midwest to like, you see Shockey do it, you see all these other TV hunters do it, and you're like, wow, that's got to be so expensive. And then you kind of get an invite, and you're like, oh, it's not as bad as people think it is. And so Africa for sure. And then some of the crazy stuff, like I never even thought I'd want to kill a mountain lion with a bow. So stuff like that, just in general.
Yeah. You had me intrigued on that mountain lion hunt. Tell me about that.
Oh man, it's wild. I went in Wyoming, western Wyoming, with my buddy Trey Heiner, and he's an outfit out there. And we actually went out. I didn't even go out for a full mountain lion hunt. He's like, hey, come out. We went on for New Year's. It was my family, my buddy Devin Leonard and his family, and then Trey and Liv and their family. They live out in Wyoming. So Devin and I's family, we shared a big giant Airbnb out there near Jackson Hole. And my buddy Trey's like, hey, we'll take the sleds out, tons of snow. He goes, we'll hunt for a day or two. And I'm like, man, I really only want to hunt for a day because we got the family out here and we're just going to be like gone hunting the whole time while they sit in the house.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if we could do one day, it'd be really cool if we can get a cat killed one day. He goes, we'll see. And we just went for it in the brutal cold. Went in 50 miles, found a cat track, got on it, good adult cat. And he's like, it's up to you, man. Do you want to shoot it? I'm like, yes. I might not ever do this again.
Yeah.
Shot a cat the first day, come home. We cooked it up for New Year's Eve and all that stuff, and had a New Year's Eve party, and just worked out. It was a crazy hunt, crazy experience, and the mountains and deep snow, chasing mountain lions around.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That's crazy. That sounds incredible.
Yeah. It was a bucket list thing, it's like, wow, it's like not many people get to do that.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those things, it's more attainable than you think it is. It just seems crazy if you don't look into it.
Yeah. For sure.
Basically, yeah. That's the best way to explain it, I would think.
Yeah. What else is on the bucket list that you haven't gotten to do yet?
So one big thing on the bucket list that I think I'm going to be able to do this year in August is I want to kill a Cape buffalo with my bow, and spot and stock Cape buffalo. And I think I'm going to get to be able to do that. Another thing, I've hunted elk with a bow, but I've not killed an elk with a bow yet. And that's up there with it too. That might be number one right now.
Yeah.
Kill a big bull with a bow, like Pope and Young or better.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Those are the top two.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I went bow only, I guess it'd be 11 years ago this upcoming season. And whitetail pigs down here, all incredible. Years ago, I got to finally go like kill a pronghorn with a bow in Montana. Last year, a mule deer with a bow in Colorado. And last year was kind of a light bulb for me. I'm like, because I kept trying to go back to Montana after I killed a pronghorn, it was an awesome. I still would love to eventually, but I was like, I need to do something that I haven't done before. That was my goal. Because I'm just me personally. I'm normally good for one out of state hunt a year for me. That's just kind of how it shakes out. And so you saying elk made me think of that, because this year I have an opportunity to go to Idaho on an elk bow hunt up there, and I've never been elk hunting before. It's going to be a new experience for me. So that's a bucket list for me as well. Elk with a bow. So I'm optimistic maybe we can accomplish that. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, good luck. That'll be an exciting one. I've killed a mule deer with a bow in Wyoming, but I have a bunch of Colorado points I need to draw before the state falls apart.
Yeah,
and
changing over there a little bit.
Yeah, so that Eastern Plains muley is intriguing to me.
Man, it was probably the most challenging hunt I've ever been on, and it didn't help that we started it with snow. What was it? It would have been end of November. It was right after Thanksgiving. It was like we were supposed to have good weather, and then we get freaking 8 inches of snow, like as I'm driving in, into the farmhouse and everything, and definitely lucked out with the connection that we had. It was one of our regional coordinators we have over here at Fall Obsession that helped set it up, and it was a large part of it was family land, family permission land, that kind of stuff. We were hunting out there, but like first two days we're driving around, hardly seen a muley. It was like, golly, this is, and it's flat. Nothing that I from Texas would have, like, he told me it was gonna be flat, and I was like, okay, and I didn't understand until I got there.
Yeah,
It was crazy. But yeah, the long story short, got in on one on day 3. He was bedded in a CRP field, put a 2-hour stalk on him, literally crawling through that field, and got in for a 28-yard shot
Nice.
on that joker with wind howling and everything. He's not the, he's not a monster muley or anything like that, but I told him going up there, I was like, man, I'm just here for the experience and hopefully punch a tag. Like that was my goal. So to be able to do that spot and stalk on a buck was pretty cool. And really cool. I've always watched hunting shows and stuff like that. You see people do it, and to actually get to experience it yourself was pretty neat. In an environment
that's
like
awesome,
that.
dude.
So
that's what I'm thinking. I got quite, not a ton of points, but a fair amount of points. I need to like decide where I want to draw, weigh some options, how I want to do it. I have it for muley and elk, actually, and pronghorn. So I need to start mapping out, because I want to go next fall, a fall of 25.
yeah.
I can't do it this year with Africa. So I got to start thinking like, how do I want to do it? Where do I want to do it? What type of deer or elk do I want to shoot? And start there, and then start doing some research. So that'll be here after I get back from Africa. I'll start my research then. So,
well, man, Phil, you're welcome to hit me up, because our guy Tim is his name out there in Colorado, our Western coordinator out there. He could recite the Colorado draw application book with his eyes closed. Like he's been hunting Colorado for 20 plus years, and he helped me with my tag for sure, and he's the one to talk to out there for sure. He's able
I
to
might lean on you for that.
Yeah, he's able to look at, okay, you got this many points, this is what they're doing with their draw applications and tags this year. This is your best option. Like, he's helped multiple guys that I know in that way, so he's a good one to talk to. But
very cool. Yeah, I'm gonna look at it and just be like, if I want to, what are my best chances of killing like a 170 class or better? I have 6 points. Where the hell am I going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
So we'll figure it out. We'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's on you mentioned, you got Africa coming up and everything. What about, whether it's hunting or the podcast, whatever it might be, what's your 24 looking like?
We're doing a ton of trade shows right now. As far as like show appearance schedule, like we leave for Iowa Deer Classic, Ohio. Then we head to Illinois Deer Classic, then Ohio, then the Wisconsin show. We have our bow shoot coming up in June. We have 6 weeks of Africa planned. Like Doug's going a week, Eric's going a week. We booked a bunch of clients for that. I'll be there for 2 weeks. Hopefully shoot to Cape Buffalo. And then we got a ton of episodes. We're mixing it up on like guests that we haven't had on. A lot of guests we've never had on before, which is something I wanted to do. So we weren't just like putting people on like a yearly podcast program. Like, I'll see you next year for your episode, which is fun to do. It's also good to mix it up too. So we got some out of the box types episodes coming, and just keep chipping away at it. We got some stuff that I'm planning for 25. I can't say anything about it yet.
All right.
So I'll tease that.
Sounds good. Man, I was going to ask about earlier and it slipped my mind, but it came back to me. What is your archery setup looking like? And are you changing anything to go to Africa?
Yeah. So this year I'm switching bows. I shot the Elite Era last year, which was a great bow. I'm switching out to the new Elite this year. I'm switching arrow setups. I'm going Victory VAP SS. I'm going a little heavier.
Yeah.
Then for Cape Buffalo, I'm probably going to be shooting a grizzly stick setup by Victory. And I think I'm going to be I'm going to shoot for that 950 grain weight for Cape Buffalo. I think I'm going to be for my other arrow setup for whitetails and other plains game. I think I'm going to be looking in that mid to high 500s for probably closer to 600 arrow weight. So going a little heavier this year from normal, or obviously going way heavy for Cape Buffalo, being a giant animal like that. But 65 pounds. Yeah. I mean, equipment wise, we run dialed sights. Love those. And yeah, that's the setup, man. Broadhead, I haven't decided 100% yet for this year.
Yeah.
Slick trick something.
Yeah. We run elite as well, and I'm a big archery guy. I used to work at a pro shop, and I have that background at least, so I'm pretty picky about my stuff, is what other people have told me.
Yeah.
But
that's all right.
But it intrigues me. I love talking archery. What kind of poundage and feet per second and all that kind of stuff are you looking at with an arrow that heavy that you're taking to Africa? Because that, like you just mentioned, that's a freaking heavy arrow.
Yeah, it's stupid, honestly. I don't know what it'll be yet. I just got my sample kit, so like Grizzly Stick will send you like different arrows with different weight heads and all that stuff, so you can kind of like see what shoots good, what one you want to shoot, and kind of build your setup off that. So I still got to do that. So I don't know what I'll be for feet per second. It's going to be slow. It's going to be I'm going to be throwing yard darts at this thing, but the goal is to be within 25 yards of the thing when we shoot it.
Yeah.
So I'm not so worried about it. I'm going to be more worried about the placement of the shot in the moment then. A Cape Buffalo's not going to jump your string like a antelope, or an impala will. If I'm shooting a 900 grain arrow at an impala, you got no chance. So I don't know yet. That a lot of that's to be figured out. We're getting through show season here. We're just back-to-back shows so much currently.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to think about some of that stuff right now, but after show season, it's on. We're starting to shoot our bows like we're training for a fight, and that's what we'll start playing with the different arrow setups. And I might not end up that heavy. I might decide that I want to shoot something in the 800s, and maybe there'll be a little more speed there than if I'm shooting a 950 grain. But we'll see. I'm excited to play with it and learn, because I really don't know yet.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely. I hope y'all talk about it on your show and everything, because I'm definitely curious to follow along with that one, because again, that's a heavy arrow, and you have my archery brain intrigued on that one. So
yeah, I'll have to get a. Oh damn, I'm drawing a blank. What gauges your arrow speed?
Yeah, a chronograph.
Chronograph. I got to get a chronograph and then just see what it does. Because I'm not shooting a 90-pound bow. I'm gonna shoot 65. Or I'll bury the limbs at 65. I don't know what it'll give me. 67, 68.
Not
maybe.
going full Cam Hanes with it or anything like that. So
No. And talking to our PH, he's like, you don't really have to.
Yeah.
He's like, you can, but he goes, good head on it. We're gonna get close. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Hopefully not too close, but
yeah, exactly.
We'll be in there. Yeah. But we'll see, man. I'll try and be talkative about it and try and, give people, because people are going to be curious about that, the details of it all, the numbers of it all, the stats of it all. So I'll do my best to document that and show off what it is.
For sure. Awesome, man. Yeah. Look forward to it.
Yeah.
Tough questions. What 9 years doing this would have been some of the biggest challenges?
Balance with hunting, the podcast, life, family. That's the dedicated time to it is the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
I think. Trying to balance it all and have a normal functioning life. You always sacrifice something or something. When you give a little more to something else, you're automatically, no matter what, giving a little less to something else. So balance is the biggest challenge.
Yeah. No,
for sure.
I get that. It doesn't matter what your occupation is, what your passion is. Most hunters, I feel like, come hunting season, that's always a conversation is balance, and it's just, that's realistic. That's the way the world works. So I know every hunting season for me, it's like, all right, we gotta sit down and figure out when am I podcasting, when am I hunting, when am I working, because I still gotta do that. So yeah,
no, dude, it's tough. I kind of grew up with the once I I found out that like hunting was my passion at a young age. I was very fortunate to like find what I think is my calling, but
Yeah.
as young as I did. But what I did, it's an unpopular thing to say, I think, to a lot of guys in the workplace, especially, when I worked at John Deere, a lot of guys are like working overtime. And it's like that was prideful for them to work overtime for somebody else. And I'm like, sick, dude, I'm going hunting. And then the same guy's like, man, I wish I could have got out this year. Like, dude, you could have.
Yeah.
You just based all your bills off your 60-hour week. I based all my bills off 40-hour week. I'm going hunting.
Yeah.
So I always said, like, I'll never let a job or someone tell me I can't go hunting ever. And I've stuck to that. And it's made a lot of employers pissed off at me over the years. When I was a teenager, when I was 19, because it didn't matter. My $9 farm job, I'm like, I'm taking 2 weeks off to go hunting. I'll see you when I'm back.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have a job when I got back, I just go find another $9 an hour job. So I've always kind of operated that way. It's like I'll never it's not my career. Yeah, I get it's important to have a job and do that stuff, but maybe that's reckless thinking when I'm 19. But it's like I can go work at Taco Bell for the same amount of money
Yeah.
when I get back if I need to.
I don't know.
No.
I mean, as you mentioned, a big part of it's balance, but I don't know that I would call it reckless because it's almost like everybody's going to have the things that they're passionate about, whether it's hunting or something completely different. But then the things that you're passionate about, the things that you enjoy doing, are also the things that are going to just help you, like, for lack of a better term, almost therapeutically, in life and stuff like that. And for me myself, that's hunting obviously too. So it's it's not, to me, it's a necessity, right? That's what I'm getting at. It's something that I too have to do. So, again, to your point, finding that balance, finding out what works for whatever somebody's life might look like, so that you can have that time in the outdoors simply, is what it boils down to. I go out there and hunt with my dad. My dad, I grew up hunting with my dad. And then it was like, teenager, high school, young adult starting a job and stuff like that. It was like, man, I hardly ever hunted with him. And now the last 3 years having this lease, managing this property that we're both on now, it's like the last 3 years I've been able to hunt with my dad again, So even just that in and of itself, I could care less if I go out there and shoot a big buck. I haven't shot a big buck, out there yet. And, but being out there, getting to hunt, being outdoors with my dad, my son coming up, now it's just like, that's
awesome.
why I do it. So,
yeah, no, that's very cool, man. Like you're coming back full circle and getting to enjoy like what hunt's about at the core level. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. And I say that, I didn't mean to get off on that, but I say that just as an encouragement to anybody listening. It's not always about killing big deer. Everybody wants to kill big deer, but, there's a whole lot more to it than that, in my opinion. So,
yeah, well, just being able to go is number one.
Yeah,
just being able to go, and it goes back to like I never let a job tell me I couldn't. I actually thought I was going to lose my job when I worked at Deere at one point. I got an opportunity to go to Oregon to hunt with Loophole, my first ever mule deer hunt, and I knew I was short on time off, but I was like, screw it, we'll figure it out when we get back. And I told my boss I was going to go. I even did as much flex time as I could. I worked overtime to go on this trip and just cashed it in for, time off instead of getting paid. Well, I'm in Portland Airport flying back from Oregon. He calls me. He goes, dude, you're supposed to be here today and you're not here. Like Deere, whatever their department was, is going to like ping you on this and there's nothing I can do. They did like it was like a 3-day fire. If you don't show up for 3 days, it's like an automatic quit.
Yeah.
And then if you can fight it, you like deletes all your employment history and you start fresh, or so. It was something along those lines. And I was at that threshold, and he's like, dude, you got to get here. I was like, brother, I'm in Portland Airport right now, like getting ready to go through security. I'm like, I'll get there when I can. He's like, can you get here today? And I'm like, nope, there's no way I could have. I'm just like, whatever. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So for a little bit, I'm like, oh shit, I might be losing my job, but it was worth it.
Yeah. Well, man,
reckless.
Relaxed. I'd call it relaxed.
Yeah. It took me a while to have that attitude about it, though.
Yeah.
But
that's tough. Yeah.
it's just a fun story.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, so now you're, I know you talked about still having a balance and everything, but you're working for Working Class Bowhunter now, right? Or
Yeah. Yep. Full time. Full time. It doesn't get easier for the record because, and this is something I'm struggling with right now, as far as like a family balance thing, is like when you start something and then you see glimmer of hope that you can make it something, and then you throttle down extra hard, and then you're able to leave your day job. The fear of not being able to continue with it is scarier than ever because it's all you now.
right.
So then you lean harder into it and you never shut it off. So there comes a point where you have to get like, okay, you have to shut it off after 4:30 and do other life stuff now, where for the longest time it was just full throttle 24/7 trying to just like keep going.
Yeah.
So there's challenges that from the outside look like must be nice or complain, but you find yourself so deep in it that you end up like creating more problems for yourself in other areas of life and focus and family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not complaining, it's just stuff you have to be conscious of.
Yeah. No, I get that. You're taking what was a passion in your spare time, and you used your spare time to do it, and now you got to convert that into your job and have that off time and have
Yeah,
that
it's
spare
weird.
time for family. Yeah, I get that. That is strange to think about for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Hard to explain, probably, and hard to for maybe some people to wrap their head around. But balance, man, it's tough.
Yeah.
That's why that was the number one challenge to it all.
Yeah. Man, I want to ask you because, like I briefly mentioned before, I've gotten to talk through this show with a bunch of people that hunt out there in the Midwest.
Mhm.
In your mind, in your experience, what and it comes into play too with permission ground, and hunting smaller pieces and stuff like that. What's key to somebody in your area being able to hunt or kill big deer?
In my area, assuming you have the permission or the spot.
Yeah, you have the permission, you have the spot, but somebody wants to take that next step from just shooting a buck, any buck, to okay, I want bigger deer, and
Mhm.
might be a 140 for somebody, might be a 150 for somebody, whatever that is.
Whatever
They
they deem a big buck.
Yeah, they want to kill bigger deer, and they want to make that jump in and start doing things that can pay off and benefit them in the long run. What's that look like?
Yeah, I think like for me, what changed for me is like I don't simplistic's not the word, but just like reach, like food plots help, right? But like I think the approach of your spot, your entry exit, where you're hunting, how you're getting in and out, like wind, stuff like that. I think that's like that understanding the fine details, how a deer uses a property, how you need to use it for how he's using it. Um, not being afraid to be aggressive at the same time, though. There's this weird blend of things. It's a complicated equation.
Right.
When you break it down, if you're getting in and out clean and you're hunting clean, eventually you'll get a lead on killing a big buck or how to make a move on the big deer. So there's really not one answer to that because I feel like it's a little more, it's deeper than that.
Yeah.
But it's an equation, really. It's just understanding how to break down parts of that equation. But that being said, too, it doesn't guarantee you a big buck. It just puts yourself in the better opportunity for one. So
Yeah.
in the right spot, it can anyway.
Yeah.
So that's me understanding the details that you hear people say, oh, entry, exit, wind, da da da. Well, yeah, it's easy to just like, oh, okay, but how to really do it.
Right.
That's what's changed it for me.
I got you. Awesome, man.
Hopefully that answered your question. I don't know. I feel like that sounded vague as shit. But
No, no. Like you said, it's different for everybody. We have a guy that hunts a lot in Michigan and Indiana, and he's given me a lot of sound advice that I'm trying to apply to Texas, even as far as just what what I call hunting smarter, and not just
Yeah.
being in a stand to be in a stand. I think to your point that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And knowing when it's right to hunt a buck, because if you hunt a buck wrong, it's not going to be your buck. And I
Right.
even this year I caught myself slipping up. I had a hammer of an 8-point that I was trying to kill, and toward late season, there was one hunt in particular that I got out there, got up in the tree and everything, and I was like, what am I doing here? I do not
Mhm.
belong in this stand today. X and Y are good, but Z's wrong. This is gonna change it.
Yeah.
And I even me trying to be cognizant of that, I still find myself making mistakes. So it's if you're not used to it, it's a shift for sure in how you do things, and you got to be diligent with it. It's not always going to be easy for sure.
Yeah, and to that point, I will have stands that scratch my itch. Like, I just want to go. This will scratch my itch. There could be a chance, but I'm hunting. I have stands like that where the entry, exit, and wind is so bulletproof it's dumb.
Yeah.
And there's not a ton of spots where that works out. I have 2 spots that work out that way. And even then, I don't just go to go. But those spots I use to scratch the itch. Like, chances of killing the buck are probably not good, but I want to go hunting so bad. I'll just go to this spot because entry's good, nothing's going to get me. Exit's good, nothing's going to get me. And I could see one, So
Yeah.
I have a couple of those spots. They're harder to find because everything's got to work out, but I'm fortunate enough to have 2 spots similar to that.
Yeah, we have 2, at least on our property during the season. It's 2 prominent wind directions that we'll face, and so we'll try to stage our stands according to that. So, I have half of my stands are good for the wind's blowing one way, and the other half are good for the other. And the property, the way it's laid out, and it's longer, and because of that, on the south side, you typically see different deer than you do on the north side, for example. And I had 2 bucks, long story short, 2 bucks this last year. One was south, one was north, and it just depended on which way the wind was blowing that determined which one I was hunting on a given day. Didn't kill either of them. Ended up putting an arrow in a buck I'd never seen before until he walked out.
Which is fine.
Yeah, and one of those deals, just same problems everybody else has from time to time, and you can't control it. Just made a shot and never recovered him. It was, it's one of those sucky deals, and that's happened to everybody I know. But you never know what's going to happen. Is the point? I had 2 target deer, was hoping to kill one of them, and the one I released an arrow on I'd never even seen before. It was just
Bonus bucks, man. You can't. That's a good problem.
Yeah.
Bonus bucks,
Yeah.
But you're right, dude. That was this year was a year for losing deer, and that was like a theme.
Man.
We kind of like, joked, not really joked about it, but we're like, gosh, what's going on? But so it happens to everybody.
Yeah, I share that with you. We actually recorded a podcast episode specifically about losing deer, because the same day that I shot and lost that buck, the exact same day, our staff manager up in Michigan, he shot and lost a one. I don't remember how big he was. He was a big deer, but on his home farm up there, and it was like, dude, what is going on? It was just, I don't know.
It happened to me this year. I did that to a buck, and I was kind of like, shit, I got to put all efforts in. And then the neighbor killed him, and I'm glad he did. But it's just, it happens, dude.
Yeah.
It happens. You don't hunt long enough, it happens. If you say it don't.
Oh
You're
yeah,
dumb.
100%. Yeah, everybody's
say it doesn't.
experienced it.
Yeah. It's just, it's unfortunate, but it makes you better. Once it happens to you, it makes you better.
Oh yeah, yeah. It challenged me as an archer, I'd say, for sure, because it was a shot. It was a shot that I like. It was now or never, and I knew some landmarks and what they were ranged, and I shoot a slider or a dial, whatever you call it, the same, and yeah, it was. I need to shoot this buck right now if I'm going to fling an arrow, and this is what I think the yardage is. And I gave myself a little bit more credit than I thought I had for gauging yardage in that moment. I gauged a 40-yard shot to be 45, and it hurt me in the end. But that was the thing that you learn from it. And I was haunted by it for sure, because 2 weeks later I'm going to Colorado on a mule deer hunt. And I'm like, dude, I can't even kill a whitetail at 40 yards. What, how am I supposed to shoot a mule deer? Practicing all these long shots, long distance and stuff. And, thank the Lord that I got a good shot on a muley and got some confidence back. That's just the journey of an archer. So,
well, at least you had to you knew what it was.
yeah.
It wasn't some random, equipment failure or something like that, which I've only had one of those happen to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least you could say I misjudged it.
No, it was one of those deals, man. Like, I'm sure you've experienced it. Like, the second you release an arrow, your brain tells you just messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Before
you know right away.
Before impact, before anything, you're just watching your arrow like almost in slow motion in your brain, and you're like, yeah, you messed that one up.
Yep. Oops. Yeah. No, I've been there, dude. I've done that. I've misjudged a buck. One of the years ago, it was like a 160s class 8 pointer.
Oh my gosh. Holy cow.
Yeah, giant.
Dude.
Giant. I know because one of my buddies found the sheds. He lived and got killed the next year by, I think it'd be the same deer. The sheds he found, I'm like, if that's not the deer, I'd be shocked that there's 2 of those running around. But yeah, just that shit that haunts you. You think about in the morning, you're in the shower, just rinse your face off and shake it off and keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah. It messes with some people for sure. It's a tough subject, man. And, we've been, at least on our show, very open about talking about it, just because, again, it's a realistic thing that happens to every hunter out there, even the best. So,
yeah.
And especially
definitely.
bow hunters, that's part of being a
man,
bow hunter.
We even had one where Austin, one of our crew, killed a giant, like a 190s buck. High 180s or something like that. And he smoked it, didn't know it. It was, it was a 50-yard shot, smoked it. He was unsure. He thought he smoked it. He got down, looked at the blood. He's like, that doesn't look like what I thought it was. I'm going to back out, come back in the morning. Got eaten by coyotes. Coyotes decimated this thing. They chewed the nose off it.
Holy
chewed
cow.
the ears off it. This thing was just gone. And
wow.
He's like, shit. So we posted the picture of it to be transparent. Like, hey, this is what happens. And the internet roasted us.
Oh my gosh.
Which was kind of funny, because then there was a lot of podcasts talking shit about us. Like, oh man, he must be inexperienced. It's like, you guys are all morons. Well, first of all, Austin's like, oh, at the end of that, I'm like, dude, mic drop everybody and just spout off your resume. And anyway, it was just funny. The people used it to give their podcast and other stuff clout over it, and it was pretty entertaining. But here's the thing: if we would have posted a picture of that down the road of just a skull cap of him holding the skull cap, how many people would have speculated some shady activity about it?
Oh yeah.
Instead, we were transparent about our situation, and we got more hate for it in turn. So whatever, it's kind of funny now.
That's just social media for you, man. It's just and y'all. I know y'all have experienced it certainly way more than we have. We're, a small show like us, even we post clips or pictures or whatever where, people don't make an effort to understand any of the context. They just take it at face value and they start, sending you messages or, I don't know, some guy. Yeah, it's just some of the stuff, you just got to brush it off. It's like, golly, man, just, keyboard warriors.
Yeah, I normally just hit them with the rock on emoji, or I just block them. Nowadays, anyway, I never used to. Now I just don't care. If you're just gonna troll us, well, first of all, if it's on TikTok, just troll us, because you're just helping our algorithm. So, you want to comment on all our stuff, you can.
Yeah.
Whatever. You're helping us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, but yeah, I've learned to really just not give a shit about some of that, because all those dudes they're gonna say unnecessary shit on Facebook, but they'll never be at a trade show being like, hey, Austin, you piece of shit, you shouldn't have let that deer go over. No one's gonna say that to him ever.
Right, exactly.
So it's just you just gotta laugh at it.
Yeah. No, I hear you. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Well, man, before I wrap up our time, I know we're around that hour mark here on our show, but on a brighter note, I guess, I always like to ask people that I have a conversation with for the first time, if there's a favorite hunting memory or memories that stick out in your mind that, just not even about a kill or something like that, but just a hunter experience that just has stuck with you forever. And if you wouldn't mind sharing that with us.
It probably changes every time I get asked. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
one in that moment might stick out a little more than ever. The one thing, it was kind of hunting related for sure, but not like, I wasn't necessarily in camp. My dad killed a buck we call a Geier buck. He's like a 191 mainframe 8-pointer.
Oh my goodness.
It's insane looking. And when my dad shot it, I was in 8th grade, and he came and picked me up from school with that buck in the back of his truck. And I just remember being like, what is this thing? You know, and the deer's stature is massive. And so it's just one of them, not the highest scoring buck, but just framey as you can get as an 8-pointer. And yeah, I just remember him picking me up and like dropping the tailgate, and this giant's just laying in the back. It's crazy.
Holy cow.
Have you ever seen the Geier buck?
No, I don't think I have.
I have a replica Euro of it. You want me to grab it?
Yeah, go for it, man. Absolutely.
Give me 1 sec. I'll show you, then you'll see what I'm saying
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
1 sec. See if I can get them in frame for you here. I'm doubting it.
Oh my word. That is insane. Holy cow, dude. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so this is the buck we call the Geier buck on the podcast. And kind of turn him into like a logo, like an icon with the show. My dad passed away a few years ago, and this has just kind of been like the deer for the podcast. So I actually have the original. This is a replica that we take to shows, and then I have another shoulder mount replica here hanging in our studio.
Wow.
So
that is a
that's
stud.
him.
Man, I'm a sucker for any big 8-point. Like, just you could put the most craziest non-typical next to just a massive monster mainframe 8, and I will shoot the 8 any day of the week. I have a thing for 8-pointers, but that's an incredible deer. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I think he's 176 net as an 8-pointer.
Holy cow.
I think 174, 176. Either way, it's giant.
Yeah.
So
that's insane.
That was like for me, that was the start of like the Geier buck icon for like my life. That's like a heirloom type thing for the Geiers. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Wow. That's awesome.
So yeah, my dad, the first time I saw that buck when he picked me up would be one of them for sure. Up there.
I
Top
imagine
3,
so.
definitely.
Holy cow. Yeah, you don't forget something like that.
Yeah, pretty funny.
Wow. Well, Curt, I really appreciate you coming on our show and taking some time out of your day to podcast with me. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm glad we're finally able to get it on the books.
Yeah. No worries. Everybody's busy, and like you said, it's trade show season. I know you guys are grinding away over there and doing good stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm glad we got to make it work and sit down and record for a little bit. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I had a lot of fun. So I appreciate you having us on the having me on, and all the high praise you gave us for WCB in general. That means a lot to me. So
well, yeah, absolutely. I know you guys are pretty humble about, you know, where you come from and where you're going, where you are right now, and yeah, I'll compliment you because y'all have earned it for sure. You've done some good stuff, and you're continuing to. You got a good show, a good platform, and it means a lot to a lot of people. So.
Thanks, man. That means a lot coming from like one podcaster to another too, because I think it's easy to like not give someone credit or like maybe not compliment somebody who's like trying to do the same thing. And also, you have a great Fu Manchu, and I think that Doug would really appreciate it. Doug being a mustache man himself. So I had to like be careful not to let you guys get too close. If you ever make it to our studio or something, I'll, like set you guys on opposite ends of the table or something.
Yeah, we can't have We can't have a clash going there. That
Yeah.
wouldn't work. I'm a full-time firefighter, so this is my fireman stash. That's what I tell my wife, at least. That's the only reason I get to keep it. So
I love it, dude. I love it. It's great. So yeah, we'll have to get you up here, man, and do a podcast at WCB one of these days. So
yeah, for sure. No, that'd be awesome. But well, for our listeners, as we wrap it up, thank you guys for tuning in. Go follow Working Class Bowhunter and listen to the show if you haven't already. You're missing out. Go hit them up. They're pretty easy to find. I don't know. You can typically type them in, they'll come straight up. At least it's been my experience. But
Google us.
yeah, just Google it. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure you're also following Fall Obsession Podcast if you are a new listener to the show on all major podcast platforms and Carbon TV. And with that, I'll catch you guys next week for another podcast.